Python is developed by?
So forgot the name.
What the name? Okay. So Python is Python programming language is developed by, right. Python programming language is developed by Gudio Van Rossum, ROSSUM, right? I think I have written the right spelling. Okay. And it is developed on most probably in February of 1990, right? It is the birth date of Python is the birth date of Python is of Python is it's most probably 3rd of February 1990. 3rd of February 1991. Right, 1991. Yeah, I'm going to just search it over here. Python. No, it's February 20, 1991. I'm wrong. So February, I remember February 20th February 20th February 1991. Right. 1991. I was solving a quiz few days back. In that quiz, now these questions were asked. The birth date of Python is 20th February 1990. So Python, the best part of Python is, what is the best part of Python? The best part of Python is one of the easiest. This is one of the easiest programming language in. So this is the best part about Python. A set of instructions. A set of instructions executed in a sequence is called a programming, right? So what is programming? A set of instructions, a set of instructions given to execute in a sequence, is called, basically programming is an activity where we can write down the program, right? So programming is an activity. Now, so we can write down writing a set of instructions. Writing a set of instructions, right? Given, writing a set of instructions,
yes, sir,
to execute in a sequence is called programming, right? Programming is basically an activity, right? Program is a set of instruction, right? If someone will ask you what is a program, then you will write it down. It is a sequence of or a set of instruction. What is a program? What is a program? Then you can say that it is a set of instruction. Okay, it is a set of instructions. It is a set of instructions. Okay, so that is a program. So to write down a program, what you will need? You need one editor, right? What you will need? You will need one
yes,
editor. Now, and in the editor, you will write down the program. Okay, fine. So,
yes, sir,
so a text editor is required. Now, a text editor, right? How to write a program. How to write a program. So step number 1, we need to open editor. Okay, step 1 is we need a text editor, right? Okay, we write program, we write program on the text editor, okay, fine. And we save the code. Okay, we save the code. Okay, after saving the code, code, we try to run the code. We try to run the code. Okay, fine. To execute or run the code, to execute, we try to run or execute or run the code. Okay, so to execute or run the code, what are the, so it is like this. Say you have written down a code, right? So you have written down a code here, right? And this code, right? And you have saved the code, okay?
Yes.
So now you send the code to Python's runtime environment, right? This is Python runtime environment, runtime. So what Python runtime environment will do, it will compile your code, right? This runtime environment now is a big part, it's a big area, right? So here one compiler is present, Python compiler, right? This is called Python C compiler, right? Python C compiler is present, right? So this code is given to the compiler, right? Compiler will check, right? Compiler will check the syntax of the language. Check the syntax of, right? What is the syntax?
So the way in which you write the program.
The way we, the rules, right? Syntax means the rules
Yes.
to write down the code. Syntax means the rules, right? Syntax means the rules which we use to follow to write down the code. That is checked by the Python compiler. Okay. So if everything is correct, right? If everything is correct, then that code, the Python generates a bytecode, right? So Python generates something called byte. If everything is correct, Python, this bytecode will be given to Python interpreter. Right? Python interpreter to execute. So Python interpreter will execute the bytecode. Python interpreter executes the bytecode. Okay. So this many activities will happen, right? Okay. So it will execute the bytecode and shows the notifications. You can say notification or output. On Python shell. Okay, on Python shell. Fine. It shows notification or output on the Python shell, right? So Python generates bytecodes when all the syntax is correct, right? Let me write down if all syntax is correct. All syntax is correct. If all the syntax is correct, then Python will generate the bytecode, right? If there if there is any error, right? Any error. Otherwise, we'll write here. Otherwise, control will transferred to. Otherwise, control will back to the code. Okay. So this is the way. This is the process through which Python executes it, right? So this is called source code. The code which we write. This is called source code, and this source code will transfer to this area, right? When we press the run button. Got my point? So these activities will happen when you write down a program. Okay. So I hope it is clear. So this is your first is your editor. So what I have tried to explain you that you have one editor. You have one editor, and with the help of the editor, what you will generate? You will generate a source file, right? What you will do? You will generate a source file. Okay, this is your source file, right? Say xyz.py, xyz.py. This is your source file, right? Your source file will be given to Python interpreter, right? So this is your Python interpreter. Say this is your Python interpreter, which I have designed it and I've shown you. This is your Python interpreter. This is your Python's interpreter. So in the interpreter, now you have compiler. Okay. Then compiler will generate bytecode. Okay. Compiler will generate the bytecode, and bytecode will be given to virtual machine. Right? Bytecode will be given to the virtual machine. Let me draw. So compiler will generate the bytecode is given to the virtual machine. Let me draw it for the virtual machine also. So virtual machine, right? And virtual machine actually uses some library modules. These codes are already defined in Python library. So these codes are already defined in. So Python uses these library modules in the virtual machine to then your program is running, right? Program is, you keep it inside a box. So your program is running, right? So from source code to running program. From source code to running program. So this diagram actually explains you the steps required for from source code to running program. The same one, right? So we'll go to file, we'll create a new file, and here we'll write down a program. Very simple program we are going to write. We are going to write a program called name, and we'll call a function called input to take input, and here we'll write enter name, and we'll take input a name, and we'll write here print, and here I'm writing welcome to the world of. So we'll write this, and what we do here, we'll write name also. Okay, so first we write down welcome, then we put a comma, then we write down a name, then we put a comma, and then we put this. Okay, so welcome name to the world of Python language, Python programming language, or Python programming language. So let's save this code, right? So we'll go to our folder, right? So documents, students, right? Students, and you go to Tanisha and class 11 coding, right? And here I'm creating a folder, right, called chapter 0, because this is an introduction class now. So, and you going to use this folder. So here I'm writing 1.py. So this is my Python code. Okay, so let's execute this code. Okay, So I'll click on run module, or you can press F5. So it's asking for a name. I've entered here your name, Tanisha, Tanisha. So it's printing. Welcome Tanisha to the world of Python programming language. Okay. So this is how it works. So whenever you write down programs, right, you may get errors, right, and never get afraid of errors, right. What do? You always report me or try to understand the errors. This is the error and how to handle or how to resolve the problem, right. So this is what you have to do, right. So whenever you write down programs, what you will get? You will get errors, right. So whenever you get a problem, right, how to solve problems, right. Here in the class now we are discussing that how to solve a problem, right. Control V, how to solve problems, or programs. Programs. Okay. So there are few steps which you need to follow, right? So the first step is so let me draw some diagrams. First step is understand the problem. First step is understand. This is your first step. Okay. The next step would be the next step. The next step, what you will do in the next step, develop and describe a sort of program written in your English language. You can write program in Hindi language also. ये समझ में आया? नहीं, ये लिख लिया, ठीक है. अब इसको कैसे solve करना है, ठीक है ना? The next step will be test the algorithm with simple inputs. Test the algorithm with simple input. And the next step is translate, right? Translate the algorithm into Java program. Into Python code. Into Python, right? So into Python code. Let me reduce the size of this box a little bit such that I can shift this up. So what we do here, test the algorithm with simple inputs, translate the algorithm, and compile and test your program. Next is compile and test your program. This is the last step which you have to. This is very much important. So you are comfortable with the print statement, right?
Yes, sir.
And calculating few things also. Okay. So what do? You write down a program in your computer. So write down a program. Write a program in Python. Sum of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus ... plus 10 equal to, right? So that prints the sum of these values. Okay. Can you do this?
Yes, sir. So using for loop?
No, not using for loop. This is sum of natural numbers, na?
First and yes, sir,
natural numbers. The formula will be what? Formula is, what is the formula? N, अरे APGP भाई कर लिया ना?
Yes, sir.
हाँ भाई, आएगा, हम पकड़ेगा, हम छोड़ने वाला नहीं है.
Yes,
n into n minus n plus 1
9
divided by 2. Now this is the formula. So n is 10.
Yes.
N is 10. So it will be 10 into 11 by 2. So answer is 55. Okay, na? So this is what you have to write. This formula you have to write. Now you have to know this formula to calculate the answer. But I have calculated it in front of you. Okay, write it down, this program. You don't have to print 1 plus 2 plus 3, but you just in the print statement you can just write down 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus ... equal to, and then you write down this formula 10 into 11 divided by 2. Okay, 10 into 11 divided by 2. Okay,
Yes.
this will be in the print statement. This is the program. This is one line program basically. Okay, you write it down. I will give you another program. I'm thinking. You share your screen and write. You know how to share the screen? You click this button, right? The button which I am clicking for stop sharing. Okay, so you click this button
Yes.
and share your screen and write down the 10 multiply by 11. 10 times 11, not plus, 10 times 11 divided by 2, bracket close, and execute. So you create a folder called coding. In that you will see, Tanisha, you can share the desktop, otherwise I cannot see the output. So answer is 55.0. So this is correct. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Sure. I'm sharing my screen just for. So Tanisha, what do you mean by variables?
So I don't know the exact definition, but it is like it can contain things in quotes.
Things in quotes. No, what is a variable? So variable is used in algebra. No, this is a variable. This is a variable. This is a n is a variable. In formula you have used variable.
Yes.
Say simple interest formula. Na? Very famous formula of
Yes.
mathematics. Everyone knows. Right? Even a class 10 guy who failed in maths, he also knows. Simple interest formula. Principal rate into time divided by 100. Now, compound interest formula. What is the compound interest formula? It is required. Compound interest formula is required every step of your life. Right? So, compound interest formula is what? Compound interest is principal multiply by 1 plus r upon 100 to the power t. Right? T is time. Now, so this is the formula.
Yes.
Now, this is for compound interest formula. Simple interest formula is this. Simple interest is principal into rate into time divided by 100. Right? So here you can see the variables. Right? So these are variables. This is a variable. 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 Right? This r is a variable. Right? This t is a variable. Okay? Here ci is a variable. Ci is a variable. Right? So variable is actually representing unknown quantities. Right? Variable is representing unknown quantities in maths. Unknown quantities. Whenever we don't know the value or the quantity, right? So then we use variable. So unknown quantities, right? Unknown quantities is represented by variables. Very simple concept. Okay. So all these are variables. This P is a variable. This R is a variable. This T is a variable. This SI is also a variable. So SI is independent variable or dependent variable? This is a dependent variable. The value of SI is dependent on P, R and T. Got my point? This is dependent variable. This is dependent variable. Dependent. And these variables are independent variable. Right? These variables are independent variables. These variables are independent variables. These variables, all these variables are independent variables. These variables are independent variable. Independent variables. Variables. Okay, and this variable is dependent variables. Dependent variable. I hope concept is clear. Nah?
Yes.
Okay. So what is a variable? If someone asks you, so it represents a known quantity, right? What is a variable? It represents it. It represents unknown. So it represents unknown quantities. But in computer, This is the definition of mathematics. This is the definition of mathematics. Okay. But in computer programming, right, a variable is a storage location, a storage location with name, a storage location with, so it is a storage location, right? I hope idea is clear. So you can think like a variable is a kind of a, means ki, when you go to kitchen, na, you will find some jars. Na, jar are there. Na, in one jar sugar is kept. In one jar salt is kept. In one jar some spice is kept. Right. In some other jar some other spices were kept. Right. In one jar oil is kept. Na, oil. Different kinds of oil will be kept in different kind of jars. Right. Nowadays. So these are, what are these? These are variables, right? And variable is kind of a jar, right? And in that jar we can store values, right? You can think about a parking space. Parking space is also a variable, right? So in a different parking space, different cars are there. So you can think about these analogies to understand variable, okay? Syntax is also very much simple, right? Syntax is equal to value, variable name equal to value. Okay, very much simple, right? So if you write down something like this, total, if you write something like this, total equal to 0, okay, fine. Then you have written total equal to, fine. So there is a variable called multiply by, let me write down bottles, the number of bottles. So bottle volume. So you can see that there are, these two are also variables, but they are previously defined. Here we have total is equal to, if we have written total is equal to total plus can multiply by can volume, can underscore. So these variables are also previously defined. These variables are also previously defined, right? Names of previously defined variables. Previously defined. Okay. Acha, you can see, Tanisha, that this is an expression, right? This is an expression. This part is called expression. This is an arithmetic expression. This is an arithmetic expression. This is also arithmetic expression. This is also an arithmetic expression, right? Here we are doing multiplication. In this part we are doing multiplication. In this part what we are doing? We are doing addition and as well as multiplication, right? Okay. So this is called arithmetic expression, right? And when you take it all, it is called equation, right? When taken all, this part is called expression. The part is in purple, right? Is called expression, and whole thing taken together is called an equation, right? Equation is used in maths, and here now this equal to is basically assignment operator. This equal to is an assignment operator. Assignment operator. So I hope it is clear, na? This idea, okay? What is called variables, right? The basic conceptions were clear, right? So
Yes.
So this is the basic idea about variables and expressions. In Python, we have data types, right? So in Python, we have something called number types, right? In Python, we have something called number type. In Python, we have called number types. So number types basically they do some numerical calculation, right? Okay, they do some numerical calculations. So in Python, the number types are three types. One is int, another one is float, and the third type is called complex. You have done complex numbers. So complex number. Can you give me the example of complex number? No, root minus 1 is not the example. The complex number na in math, a plus ib, right? A plus ib. So I is actually root over of minus 1. Now the value of, what is the value of I? I is root over of minus 1. If you remember. Tanisha, this is a way. But in Python, it is j. But in Python, and it has two parts, right? This ib has two parts, right? This is called imaginary part. This is called imaginary part, and this part is called real part. Real part. It has two parts, imaginary part and real part, right? And it is added with a real number. It is added with a real number. Okay. So, but in Python it is j. In Python it is j. So this value will be written in Python. In Python it will be written like this. Float is any decimal point values. Float is any decimal point values, right? Int is any integer values. It may be positive or it may be negative. I hope idea is clear. Okay. So let me show you all these examples in Python. So let's declare this is Python. So I'm writing here, say x is equal to minus 5. Okay. Then if I write type of x, what is the type of x? So it is int. Okay. If I write y is equal to 3.14, if you type here type of y, it will show you it is a float, right? If you write here z is equal to, okay, if you write here 6j plus 5, okay, so what is the value of z? Z is 5 plus 6j, okay, and type of z is, I did a mistake, type of z is complex, right? So this is how you can store the values in the variable and different data types in Python. There were other types are also available, like string is there, right? String is there for storing names or any other text, right? If you want to process text, you use string type also. So for example, I'm writing here, say I have written here variable here, say sentence sent equal to, if I am storing here, we are discussing basics of Python, right? So it is stored, right? If you check the type now, here type of sent, you can see that the type of sent is string, right? So these are the basic types which we have. Okay. There is another type called boolean is also there. Okay. So if we want to store, right, say option, there is a variable called option equal to, you have stored here false, right? So if you check the type of option, what is the type of option? It will say you bool. So this is another data type. So bool is another data type, and which contains only two values, that is called true or false. Okay. So let me copy this and let me paste it over here. Okay. So these are a few data types, right? String is there, bool is there. There are other types, like there were a type called list is there. Okay. List is there. There's a type called tuple is there. Okay. So as we go now, we will learn. There is a rules of defining a variable name. You define a variable. You need to give it a name. Give it a name. Okay, that explains its purpose. That explain its purpose. Its purpose. Okay. Whenever you name something in Python, whenever you name something in Python, you must follow a few simple rules. A few simple rules. Okay. So number one is names must start with a letter, or the underscore. Okay, name must start with a letter or underscore character, and remaining character and remaining character must be letters, numbers, you can apply numbers, or underscores, okay. You can use only these characters, right? The characters like exclamation mark, hash is not allowed in the name, right? It is not allowed, right? So let me write down. You cannot use other symbols such as question mark, right? Such as question mark is not coming. Question mark, percentage, right? You cannot use this symbol. You cannot use ampersand. You cannot use asterisk. You cannot use brackets, right? You cannot use brackets, right? These symbols are not allowed, right? And etc. So there were many symbols which are not allowed. The allowed things are only underscore character, right? Or letter. You can use digits, but you have to use it later on, right? Acha. There is something called convention. There is something called convention. Convention. Conventions. Convention means it is not a rule, but you can say that it is a rule of a community, right? So those are called conventions. Say we celebrate Diwali. So everyone celebrates Diwali, but there are few rules, right? Say for example, few people will not burn firecrackers, right? So that is a convention. That is not a rule, but few people will burn it. Even if they know that it is harmful, they will burn it, right? In Holi, few people will play Holi with a color which is good for skin, but few people will play Holi that with the color that is not good for skin, right? So they will play, right? But they are not following the conventions, right? Okay, so you should follow some convention, right? While naming, this is not a rule, but I'm saying that if you define it in this way, the variables, then it will be very much easier to understand your programs. Okay, so convention is you can use uppercase letters to denote word boundaries, okay, as in, right? I'm defining here cans per pack, right? You can see how I have defined the variable. This is a variable name. This is the variable name. Cans per pack is the variable name, right? This naming convention is is called camel case. It's called camel case, right? So this kind of convention, na, you can get it in every programming language, right? If you use it, na, they know that you know programming, how to write down programs in computer, right? This is called camel case because the uppercase letters in the middle of the name look like the humps of the camel. Look like the humps of a camel. The hump of a camel. Camel. Okay. So let me post a picture of a camel over here. Okay. So let me write it down here. Camel. Okay. Let me take this picture of camel. So you will remember it also. Let me paste it here. अरे बहुत छोटा आ गया, बड़ा कर देते हैं इसको. ये देखो भाई, तनीषा का ऊंट बड़ा हो गया. तनीषा ऊंट पे बैठी है. So I hope you have understood this concept. Fine. Okay. So Python is a case sensitive language. Fine. Python is a case sensitive language. Okay. So let me write down with stars. Python is a case sensitive language. Case sensitive. So let me talk about constants, right? So we have spoken a lot about variables. So let's talk about constants. Okay. So use constants for values that should remain unchanged. That should remain unchanged. That should remain unchanged throughout your program. So constant मतलब constant ही होता है, right? You cannot change the value. So जैसे bottle volume, BOTTLE bottle underscore volume, right? This is not going to be changed. So I have written here 2.0. So this is a constant. Max underscore size is a constant. Okay. So generally in Python there is no constant, right? To indicate right, the variable is used as constants, right? We write in capital letters. फाइन तनिषा. सो इन पाइथन में ना कोई कांस्टेंट के लिए कुछ कीवर्ड नहीं है, बट वो डायरेक्टली आप यूज कर सकते हो. ठीक है ना, मतलब ऐसे करके लिख दोगे तो हमारे कम्युनिटी में, राइट, हमारे समाज में, प्रोग्रामिंग का सोसाइटी है, समाज है, ठीक है ना, उस समाज में माना जाता है कि ये कांस्टेंट है भैया. ये क्या है? कांस्टेंट है. जैसे मारवाड़ी समाज है, जैसे ब्राह्मण का समाज है, ठीक है ना, वैसे प्रोग्रामिंग का भी समाज है. ठीक है ना, हम लोग का अपना समाज है. तो आप हमारे समाज में आ गए हो तो हमारे समाज का रूल आपको फॉलो करना है. ठीक है. सो दिस इज बॉटल वॉल्यूम को अगर आप कैपिटल में लिख रहे हो तो हमारे समाज में माना जाता है कि ये इसको कोई चेंज नहीं करेगा भाई, ये कांस्टेंट है. ठीक है, बट ये वेरिएबल ही है. एक्चुअली इट इज अ वेरिएबल, बट इसको हम लोग कांस्टेंट के तौर पे ट्रीट करते हैं. ठीक है, क्योंकि पाइथन में कोई कीवर्ड नहीं है कांस्टेंट बनाने का. जैसे जावा प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज है ना, उसमें कांस्टेंट बनाने के लिए कीवर्ड है. अगर आप वो कीवर्ड यूज कर दोगे तो उसको आप कभी नहीं चेंज कर सकते. ठीक है ना. सी प्लस प्लस में भी कांस्टेंट बनाने का कीवर्ड है. ठीक है, सी लैंग्वेज में भी कांस्टेंट बनाने का कीवर्ड है, बट पाइथन में नहीं है. ठीक है, बट जरूरत नहीं है. क्या जरूरत है बनाने का? जरूरत ही नहीं. ठीक है. अच्छा, अगला चीज है कमेंट्स के बारे में बता दें कि यूज कमेंट्स use comments to add explanations for explanations क्या लिख दिया यार, explanations आई लगा दिया है, explanations होता है, आई लगा दिया भाई, explanations for humans who read your code, ठीक है. The interpreter ignores
Yes, sir.
the interpreter ignores comments, ठीक है. तो जैसे आप कमेंट लगा सकते हो ऐसा करके कि कैन अंडरस्कोर वॉल्यूम इज इक्वल टू 0.335, ओके. और यहाँ पे आप लिख दो, हैश लगा के कमेंट लगाते हैं, हैश लगा के, ठीक है ना. लीटर्स इन अ 12 ounce, लीटर इन अ 12 ounce कैन, ठीक है. तो ऐसा करके कुछ आपने कमेंट लगा दिया, ठीक है. अब ऐसे करके भी लगा सकते हो आप कमेंट, ऐसे करके भी हम लोग कमेंट लगाते हैं, हैश लगा दिया, फिर एक हैश लगा दिया, उसके बाद लिख दिया दिस प्रोग्राम, ठीक है ना, दिस प्रोग्राम कंप्यूट्स द वॉल्यूम इन लीटर्स of a six pack of soda cans, ठीक है. ये लिख लिया, इसको थोड़ा सा बड़ा कर लेता हूं मैं, हाँ ठीक है. और यहाँ पे हैश लगा देता हूं, ठीक है. तो ऐसे करके मतलब ये हम लोग कमेंट्स लिख सकते हैं और उसको अरेंज भी कर सकते हैं अपने हिसाब से, ठीक है. तो देखो, आई होप समझ में आया हुआ इतना तो कि कमेंट्स करना चाहिए, ठीक है. यू हैव टू राइट डाउन कमेंट्स, ठीक है. समझ में आया. और देखो, बेसिक अरिथमेटिक तो आपको आता ही होगा, ठीक है ना. तो थोड़ा सा अरिथमेटिक ऑपरेटर्स के बारे में बता देते हैं, ठीक है. ARITH अरिथमेटिक ऑपरेटर्स. मैं थोड़ा सा जल्दी जल्दी पढ़ा रहा हूं, ठीक है, क्योंकि मेरे को तुमको पकड़वाना है यार, फर्स्ट टर्म में अच्छा मार्क्स आना चाहिए, कॉन्फिडेंस हाई रहता है अच्छा मार्क्स आने से बच्चा का, ठीक है. तो इसलिए मैं थोड़ा थोड़ा जल्दी जल्दी पढ़ा रहा हूँ. तो अरिथमेटिक ऑपरेटर्स तो आपने पढ़ा हुआ है, जैसे प्लस पढ़ा हुआ है आपने, और क्या पढ़ा हुआ है, माइनस पढ़ा हुआ है आपने, अरे माइनस नहीं है, माइनस. देन मल्टीप्लिकेशन पढ़ा हुआ है आपने, डिवीजन पढ़ा हुआ है, ठीक है ना. ये जो डिवाइड वाला ऑपरेटर है ना, ये आपको कोशंट देता है, QUOTIENT, ये आपको कोशंट देता है, ठीक है. और ये वाला जो ऑपरेटर है ये रिमाइंडर देता है दर, ठीक है. समझ में, बहुत बच्चा ना, देयर वर मेनी किड्स दे हैव फॉरगॉटन हाउ टू फाइंड आउट रिमाइंडर. दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव गॉट. आई होप यू कैन फाइंड आउट कोशंट एंड रिमाइंडर, ओके, ठीक है. अच्छा, ये इसको ना हम लोग डिवीजन ऑपरेटर बोलते हैं, नॉट कोशेंट ऑपरेटर. इसको ना हम लोग डायरेक्टली बोलते हैं डिवीजन ऑपरेटर, DIVISION, डिवीजन ऑपरेटर है भाई. ये रिमाइंडर ऑपरेटर है. ये वाला डबल स्लैश इज द कोशेंट ऑपरेटर, ये कोशेंट ऑपरेटर है, कोशेंट ऑपरेटर है, ठीक है. दिस इज कॉल्ड कोशेंट ऑपरेटर. ये डबल स्टार अगर लगाएंगे ना तो इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं एक्सपोनेंशियल ऑपरेटर. क्या बोलेंगे इसको, एक्सपोनेंशियल ऑपरेटर. ये एक्सपोनेंशियल ऑपरेटर है, ठीक है ना. समझ में आया. अच्छा, यहां पर भी ना एक रूल चलता है, यहां पर भी देयर इज अ रूल आउट देयर. द रूल इज कॉल्ड PEDMAS, ठीक है. समझ में आया, PEDMAS. तो P फॉर होता है पैरेंथेसिस, P फॉर होता है PARENTHESES, पैरेंथेसिस. पैरेंथेसिस क्या होता है, पैरेंथियसिस ना ये ब्रैकेट को बोलते हैं, दिस ब्रैकेट इज कॉल्ड पैरेंथियसिस, ठीक है ना, इस ब्रैकेट को बोलते हैं पैरेंथियसिस, राइट। अच्छा, ये हो गया।
Yes, sir.
ई होता है आपका, ई क्या होता है, एक्सपोनेंशियल, एक्सपोनेंशियल, ठीक है। इसके बाद आपका आता है डिवीजन और मल्टीप्लिकेशन, इन दोनों का प्रेसिडेंस सेम है, ठीक है, डिवीजन और मल्टीप्लिकेशन, और मल्टीप्लिकेशन जो पहले आ जाएगा वो सॉल्व हो जाएगा, मल्टीप्लिकेशन, CATION, मल्टीप्लिकेशन। फिर आता है एडिशन और सब्ट्रैक्शन, एडिशन और सब्ट्रैक्शन, ठीक है। तो यहां पे लिख देते हैं एडिशन और सब्ट्रैक्शन, सब्ट्रैक्शन, ठीक है ना। यहाँ पे ये रूल फॉलो करना पड़ता है, ठीक है। तो आप ये कर सकते हो, ठीक है। और इनको हम लोग ना फ्लोर डिवीजन बोलते हैं, ये वाला जो ऑपरेटर्स है ना, इनको हम लोग फ्लोर डिवीजन ऑपरेटर्स बोलते हैं। क्या बोलते हैं इसको, फ्लोर डिवीजन ऑपरेटर्स, फ्लोर डिवीजन ऑपरेटर्स, दीज आर कॉल्ड फ्लोर डिवीजन ऑपरेटर्स, ठीक है। समझ में आया। तो एक डिवीजन, एक आपको कोशेंट देता है, दूसरा आपको रिमाइंडर देता है, ठीक है। तो ये आप थोड़ा देख लेना, आइडल में डाल के प्रैक्टिस कर लेना, आई होप प्रैक्टिस कर भी लिया होगा, ठीक है ना। इतने ये सब चीजें हो ही जाती हैं बच्चों से, राइट। और इसके अलावा आप थोड़ा मैथ क्लास के मैथ फंक्शंस भी आप प्रैक्टिस मैथ फंक्शंस का तो नहीं है, ये वाला थोड़ा रीडेबल है ना, और बड़ा कर दें।